In today's video, I'm going to be doing a tier list of all the basic talents. These are most recognizable talents and the ones that have been in the game since launch. So none of the Beastmaster talents will be on here. There won't be any unique talents held by certain enemies or anything like that. Bladestorm is without question S tier. Bladestorm is a very good talent. It's pretty much essential for all melee users as its chaining power is very good. It's essentially needed to chain properly, and it's one of the top two best talents in the game for melee users. Burst Fire is up next, and it's also S tier. It's one of the top two epic or talents for ranged units, as same logic with Bladestorm. It's just very good to have, pretty much essential for shooting classes, and you'd want to put this, if you can, on all of your musketeer companions, and just make sure your pirate has it as well. Cheap shot is just bad. Anyone who's used it will know that it's just not good. It's not a good talent. It's a waste of a talent space. Yes, you can cheese some people with it, but other than that, it's just not good. Probably the worst melee talent in the game you can get. Crossfire is interesting because it's flanking for musketeers, but how often are you going to be moving around when you're playing a musketeer? So yeah, now we get into the Witch Doctor talents. Counterspell. I don't know how much you're gonna be dodging as a Witch Doctor, and the odds of you dodging as a Witch Doctor are pretty low, since you already have low dodge yourself. And mainly Witch Doctors are gonna be using spells anyways, because of that. D tier. Coward's Bane is interesting. It acts like cheap shot, so it's not completely useless. You're at least going to be able to use it at some point, but other than that, it's not really optimal. Doomspell, same reasoning with Crossfire. You're playing a Witch Doctor, you're going to be using a lot of spells, you're not going to be moving around much, so there's really no point in learning it. Double Tap, same reasoning with Burst Fire, just a very good talent overall, and a very essential one too for Musketeers. Elusive is one of those good passive talents where if you're low on health, you get increased dodge and mobility, which is great in PvP if you need to run away or you need to get those extra dodges for basic attacks. It's pretty good. Now, First Strike 3 is really good in PvP, as the fact it can remove hides, but other than that, in PvP, it's not super useful in PvE, because not a lot of enemies have hides. Flanking is also one of those talents where it's a lot of people don't like it, but I actually think it can be pretty useful, especially on swashbucklers. You can play around it so you don't have to waste your hide. You can also use flanking on melee characters to get an extra hit to have higher chain potential, although other than that, it's not worth wasting like a Bladestorm or a Relentless epic for. Hold the Line is really good on support type characters, as Hold the Line 3 reduces the opponent's dodge by, I believe it's 50%, but it's really good for body blocking, and when you combine that with Repel Borders, it's a really good utility option. Intuition's interesting because there's an epic in the game that I will get to later that does the exact same thing as Intuition, but better, so Intuition is kind of irrelevant. Jobu's Ruse is also another unique talent. It's second chance for Witch Doctors. Now, the chance you're going to be even basic attacking on Witch Doctors is really low, but the only upside is that Witch Doctors often miss a lot on basic attacks, so there's actually a reason to use this talent. This one upside actually makes it slightly usable in one circumstance. Mojo Echo is really interesting because, as with Jobu's Ruse, you have to be basic attacking as Witch Doctors, except this time you're actually hitting it. But with how the Witch Doctor meta is, there's not a lot of people using high damage. More people care about range for spells. But Mojo Echo is really useful if you're playing Shooty Staffy, and that one reason alone helps it with chains. So I mean, it's alright. It's not super good. It's not super bad. It's just meh. It's really only good for that one play style, and because of that, it's B. Mojo Rising, same idea as Mojo Echo, except this time you have to rely more on criticals. Although I think you're going to be creating quite frequently if you're using Shooty Staffy, not so much on just Blade Staffy Witch Doctors. I'll just put in B tier. Overwatch is really good for musketeers, as Overwatch 3 can reduce accuracy by 50%, and Overwatch 5 is a knockback, which in PvE is really good. Parting shot is just like cheap shot. It's really good for cheese, but that's about it. C tier for cheese. Pirate is interesting because it's one of those talents that a lot of people know about, but you don't really see a lot of use with it because most of the time it's intended for ship combat, for broadside combat, but people don't do that very often. The weapon damage buff is pretty good, although it's gonna go down in C tier because of how little it is often used in the game. Quick Adjust is another interesting talent because Musketeers already have high accuracy, but Quick Adjust can help confirm that you will be hitting the target. I do put Quick Adjust on characters like Chantel Livingston. I have one link of Quick Adjust on her, mainly because I already have Overwatch 3 on my Pirate, and it has helped me quite a lot. It's another one of those talents where it's really good in some scenarios, but it's not super essential. Like, I wouldn't have Quick Adjust over something like Overwatch or Burst Fire. So because of that, it's B tier. Quick Draw is also interesting. I'd say it's along the same ranks as First Strike in terms of usefulness. This time it just works against ranged units. So because of that, it's also going in B tier. Readied Spell is pretty decent, along with being on Staffy Shooty. It helps with chains a lot because you can have that, and then you can have Overwatch as well, so you can have double the chain power. But other than that, it's not super good on pure Staffy units, as most people via for range over damage anyways, so it's also going in the B tier. Relentless is probably one of, if not the best talents in the game right now. It's just super essential for all melee characters. As you get more damage off of it, you can get more chains off of it. And it's just a really good essential talent to have. Repel borders, like I said earlier, when chained with Hold the Line, makes it very good for a support character. You get the reduced dodge with the Hold the Line, which makes you even more likely to hit the repel borders. And if it's repel borders 3, it reduces their accuracy by 50%. So these two talents pair really well with each other. Now, Retribution. As I was doing research for this video, I found that only one companion in the whole game can learn this, and it's locked behind a crown shop. It's the Crab Hermit. How much a Witch Doctor is going to hit you with a basic attack? That's what I thought. Return Fire is also one of those basically pure scenarios. I have one rank on like Exeter, Bonnie Ann, Emmett. Just some more Musketeer companions I use for utility more than pure chains. It's a pretty decent one to have. Even though Musketeers have low dodge, it can be pretty useful at some points. Riposte is very good with most swashbucklers running Riposte 3. You get the increased dodge, and if they have Vengeance Strike and they keep missing on you, that's a lot of free damage onto the opponent. So this is A tier. Second Chance is interesting because unlike Quick Adjust, there's not a lot of ways to learn this. The only ways that I know of are you can get on a pet, or there are certain weapons in the game that give it. I think it's a little less optimal than Quick Adjust because it's not as accessible. So because of that, it's going in the C tier. True Grit is a really good musketeer talent, as the chance of stunning enemies is very good. So because of that, it's going in the A tier. Turn the Tide is also very good. Very good for pure damage units like Buccaneers. It gives you increased, I believe Turn the Tide rank 3, it gives you 50% weapon power, then it gives you some bonus accuracy as well when your health is below 50%. And it's very good in increasing your damage output. Because of that, it's going in the A tier, as all classes can benefit off of this. Vengeance Strike, same logic as True Grit. It's just very good. The stun's very useful, and with Buccaneers, they can become killing machines. They can get so much damage off of chains with Vengeance, and it's really good. And the last one is Witch Hunter. Witch Hunter is just a better intuition, and the other thing is it can be used on all classes and all weapon types. Because of that, it's not like super handy in some scenarios like Melee units won't be able to get too much value off of this unless if they're right next to the person that's casting the spell. Because of that, it's going in B tier. I think the only change I would make after ranking everything is First Strike would probably go into the A tier, just because with it being a melee talent, it has more applicable uses than other talents. Like it'll have more use than Quick Draw, just because there are more melee classes and enemies in the game. And that is my Pirate101 Talents tier list. Just a reminder, this list is completely subject to my opinion. You don't have to agree with my rankings and my choices. If you have different opinions and you'd like to share them, go ahead and do that in the comments. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure to like and subscribe so you can be notified when I upload. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.